And let's talk about OpenAI. They recently had their first $1 billion month, putting them on a $12 billion run rate. I wanted to bring this up because we discussed on the show back in June when they announced they reached a 10 billion annual run rate. So for me, I think going from 10 to 12 in, it's a little hard to tell, 1 to 2 months is the timeline, is incredibly impressive. That's 20% growth in less than a quarter, which is startup style growth, frankly, Jason, that we would love to see from a Series A or B company. But in this case, from a company at a 10 figure run rate, which struck me as very impressive. Sorry, 11 figure run rate, which was very impressive to me. What's kind of crazy as well is that in an interview with CNBC, their CFO Sarah Friar said still that, quote, the biggest thing we face is being constantly under compute, which means that they could grow faster if they had more GPUs, which at some point they're going to have enough, right?
I guess, yeah. And Sarah Friar is the same. She was the CEO of Nextdoor, I remember. And before that, she was at Block, formerly Square. So she's got a pretty great track record. The CEO track record, Nextdoor did not do well during her tenure, but obviously Square did exceptional during her tenure. And the question then I would have is the profitability of this revenue.
Yes.
So what are they spending in CapEx? What are they spending to deliver this? And then what is the breakdown between hits to their API versus consumer? And I remember it was majority, 60, 70, 80% at some point of this revenue. We could probably ask producer Claude if they can find us more information on this breakdown. They also have 700 million weekly active users, WOWs, I guess, instead of DAOs and MAUs last. So maybe they have 500 million DAOs.
Sure.
So if you have 500 million people using your product and you're making $1 billion, you're making $2 per user, but I don't think they're making the $2 off those users. They're probably making, if that billion was 50-50, they would be making $1 off every user, which would be in subscription revenue because they don't have advertising yet. And their subscription is 10 or 20 bucks a month. So you could actually back into how many paid subscribers they have. Do they release their consumer subscribers?
I don't think they released consumer subscribers, but I do recall they went from 3 to 5 million business customers over, again, a single digit month timeline earlier this year. I've asked producer Oliver to ask producer Claude for the stat that you pulled out there.
Yeah.
But what I want to add, though, that they did discuss, Sarah Friar, in the same interview, that there was, quote, an acceleration in Plus and Pro subscriptions. So that means that the consumer stuff that you're saying is doing well, is still doing well. But she also highlighted nice momentum in the enterprise and, quote, great momentum with developers. So in theory, this is hitting kind of all the major AI groups right now. The post-GPT-5 OpenAI world. There seems to be a disconnect between GPT-5's reviews on Twitter, X, and how they're playing in the market, the models. So maybe things are a little better than we thought.
Well, I think that this could add, I think they could add 100 million in advertising per month out of the gate, $1 billion. I think I think they'll get to 500 million a year. So I think they had 40 million a month in year one for advertising. We made a bet on when they would have advertising in the previous episode. Yeah. I don't know if we have that documented.
It's in that. No.
Okay, so
but we will get that.
Yeah, let's get that here because I think this is an important thing to look at is when they release their advertising product. Because right now the free users are not being monetized. They're used as a funnel to try to convert people to subscriptions, but you can use a number of free products. And I think 90% of people are not going to pay for this. 5 to 10% will, which is probably similar to YouTube. So YouTube has over 100 million paid subs, I believe. And if YouTube has 2 billion or 3 billion users and 100 million paid subs, you can get to that 5% of people might convert to paid. So we could actually back into, of the billion people who use the product a month or 800 million who use it a month based on the 700 million who use it a week, 500 million using it a day. Let's say it's 1 billion people use it a month. If you converted 5%, you get to 50 million times $10 each, 500 million, which kind of would be half that number. So we can start to approximate and back into a 5% subscription rate. So of 2 or 3 billion eventual users,
yes,
there might be 100 million paid.